Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome to A Soul's Journey with Mary. I am excited to share some stories with you today about my childhood. The theme has been coming up for me about my inner child in the past few days. A lot of emotions, a lot of cries, a lot of joy. And in the end, which was today, I finally found that wholeness within me, healing my inner child. Although I've done some past work about inner child healing, but you know how healing is. It's never a linear process. So it comes and goes, the parts that we have missed or haven't healed or the emotions haven't processed. I had a very vivid memory the other day about my childhood. This is where I am between 9 and 12. Most of the memories came in terms of healing myself. I remember we lived in Kabul, Afghanistan. For those of you that are Afghan, we lived in Mikroyan. Not all the time, but some parts of our life we lived in Mikroyan. So I remember when I used to come from school, drop off my backpack or my bag at home, and then right away I wanted to go back outside and play. Now, we're 5 sisters, 2 brothers, and I am the second oldest. My sister Miriam is the oldest, and she's always been the caregiver in the house. So she always took the leadership in the house. She was pretty much our mother. And she's a very strong woman who carries a very high nurturing energy inside of her. So she always cared for us. But I know part of her also reached out to me because, naturally, if you understand how the hierarchy of a family works, so the next one up in the line has to take the responsibility or some of the responsibility. And she always reached out to me for telling me that I shouldn't go outside. I'm always wanting to play. I should be inside and help her with the chores and help the house. And we always had this division of labor that if she cooked, I was supposed to clean. I never cooked when I was young, but my mom did, and she did some of the time, or my grandmother. But then cleaning the dishes and things like that were always like we took turns. But when it was my turn, I always found a way to kind of sneak out of the house or say that they always make fun of me, even nowadays when we talk in the family, that I always pretended that I have a stomach ache right after dinner or lunch, and then I would go into the bathroom and take a long time to come out because I wanted to avoid doing the cleaning. Anyhow, so I remember a day that I just dropped off my bag and I went back outside. So I had tons of friends. I was very socially outgoing. My sister was kind of the opposite. She was an introverted and she wanted to stay at home. She had friends, but she was very picky. She had only like a few friends. But me, on the other hand, wanted all to go out and make friends, as many as possible. And back in the days, it was just so nice to be a kid and play outside because my mom she was kind of in the kitchen cooking, or my grandmother. And then all of other moms were the same way. So in the block that we lived, although we played outside, but you felt safe because you smelled the cooking aromas of like garlic or onions. When you're Afghan, there's always garlic and onions in your food. And so it's like, or someone's frying potatoes, French fries, someone's cooking bolognese. There's always these great aromas. And I remember growing with those because it made me feel so good. And then outside, I remember this is like around 5, 6 o'clock in the evening. It's the best time to go outside and play. So each block had a gardener that took care of the block. And for our block, there was a gardener. And then so he would turn on the water hose, and then he would water the lawn, the flowers, and wash the walkways. And when someone waters when there's a dust, mud, and then, not mud, but dust, when you pour water over it, it has this smell that it's just so good, that earthy smell. I love that. When the gardener did that, I would just go close by him to just smell that earthy smell. And sometimes I would just grab the water hose and wash my feet or do something or drink some water. I remember drinking water because I would be running a lot and I would get thirsty. It just felt so good to be a kid, right? Because you're just happy, jolly, playful. We played a lot of games. I loved playing volleyball. We played badminton. I played there's some other Afghan games that I don't know if any other traditions, cultures played, but we call it the loshtik bozi. You played something with the rubber band around your legs, and then two holds it, and then one person in the middle jumps. It's almost like a jump rope, but you're doing it with the rubber band. So that was my favorite game. Like 3 or 4 girls played at the time. And then there was another game, was called Pito. We piled up these rocks, and then we had a ball, and then you're supposed to break all the rocks that were built up to make it fall. And then if it fell, then somebody else grabbed the ball, and then they kind of ran after you to hit you with the ball. It was just all these different kind of games, simple, very simple games, but I had so much fun. It was just so nice to play outside. And then something after age 10, 11, I start to really take on a different role. I start to really completely forget about being a kid, kind of forgot about, being playful, because the sense of responsibility kicked in. Like I said, naturally, if you understand the hierarchy of a family, it's the oldest that usually takes on everyone's responsibility on their shoulder, which ultimately is not a great thing. But naturally it happens because you are just the first. And then after that, the second child takes step forward, because if the first one either goes off to get married or she's not available, or when she's at school, the second one steps in. So, and then the second child is always the most child that achieves greatly, because you are always feeling that you want to compete, right? With the first one. So I was the overachiever, and then I took on this role that, okay, then I should be like my oldest sister, Miriam. Everyone talked greatly about her. Everyone adored her because she was an ideal, perfect Afghan lady who was very humble, who was respectable, who was quiet, very submissive. She didn't talk back a lot, very reserved. Part of it is her personality, but also because everyone just gives you so much positive feedback about that, then you try to wear that role even more, because then everyone's accepting you, right? You're gaining their approval. So me, on the other hand, I was completely the opposite. I was outgoing, I was outspoken, I always wanted to reason with people. I got so much in trouble with my uncles and my aunts and elderly in the family because I always talked back. They always told me that my tongue is longer than anything else in my body. Not in a good way. It was always in a bad way, in a negative way. Because they kind of always made me feel like I should be like my sister Miriam. I should learn from her. I should follow what she's doing. So I start to really believe that there's something wrong with me, being this playful, outgoing, curious kid who has a thirst for knowledge and seeks and asks for things, but people are not ready to give me the responses. Excuse me. So I start to more like become like my sister, pretended to be like her. So this, when you try not to be yourself, obviously you're killing your soul inside. So this sense of sadness comes about me, obviously, because that's not me. And I start to take on more responsibility, more responsibility. And I also remember, I used to listen to my dad's stories a lot. I was very close with my dad. I'm still very close with my dad. When we used to go to sleep at nighttime, my dad used to tell us stories about his childhood and his struggles, what he went through. His father had a second wife. In the Afghan culture, it's very common back in the days that people would have second, third wives. So my grandmother was the first wife, and then he neglected, kind of based on his stories, what he's telling me, his first wife and the kids, and married a second wife, and then he kind of moved on with that and moved away from his first wife. And so especially my dad and my aunt, my dad's sister, Mary, her name is Mary too, these were like the last two kids that felt the neglect the most. And I have some other uncles and aunts, but they experienced more being with their father, while my dad and my aunt, they experienced less of that, and they felt that they were really neglected. And so he always told me the stories about how that happened, how he didn't have any support, he didn't have a father growing up. He struggled financially a lot to go to school and to get a job and to take care of my grandmother, because my grandmother lived with my dad for a long time before he got married. So through his stories, as an empath, I picked up all of his pain and struggles as well. So that also added on to my emotion, on top of what I was doing already, not being myself, pretending to be like my sister, and then taking on my dad's pain. So this joyful little kid that wanted to go outside to play start to become really sad and start to really become a caregiver. Although by nature I am a caregiver, but then it took a different shape and perspective because it was in the right timing. As a kid, as a 10, 11 years old, you're supposed to be playing. You're not supposed to be taking care of people. So that part of me stayed sad for a very long time. And when that happens, spiritually, that aspect of your soul, if you don't heal it, it stays sad that way. So recently, when I start healing my inner child, a very strong sense of sadness would come. And I remember a few months ago, my cousin from Germany, Freba, she sent me a picture of myself and my two other siblings. And it's a black and white from back in the days, Afghanistan. I think I was 8 years old, and holding my two other siblings. One is 8 months old. The other one is, I think, not more than 5, 6 years old. So I'm kind of holding them together. I'm in the middle, and I don't have a lot of pictures because when we left Afghanistan, it was during the war, so we couldn't take anything with us. And plus, we didn't have, it wasn't like we were leading a very luxurious lifestyle, so we didn't have cameras and stuff that we would take pictures left and right. So this picture was taken, I don't know by who, some of the family members, and she had a picture of my childhood that I don't have. I only have one childhood picture. I don't have anything else. None of our family, my siblings, they have their childhood pictures. She sent that picture to me on my phone, and I just click on it and I look at it. And that 8, 9-year-old Mary that is holding everything together, making sure that nothing falls apart in the chaos that we were living in Afghanistan. amongst war. There was scarcity, fear, poverty. I start crying so hard looking at that picture, because it told me a story of what happened when I was really young, and I had forgotten that part of me, and it brought that memory. It resurfaced it. It was a reminder to look at me and say, that part of me was saying that, help me, I am hurt, I am sad, I am broken. It needed validation, it needed love, it needed compassion, it needed softness. It truly needed for me to really connect with her and really ask her, what does she want? And I know first she wanted validation, she wanted love, she wanted to be acknowledged. And then she was telling me that, be playful, be a kid again, be present. Her message was to me to be playful and present. And so today was a really, really a fine moment for me, a sacred moment, where I felt that I have healed that part of me. Because before that, I would look at that picture and I would get emotional and I would cry. But today, for the very first time, I looked at her and I felt like she's no longer sad. She's healed. She's integrated with me, and she wants to co-create with me in this podcast. And she wants me to go out and play again, because we often just play this role to be an adult, to be a caregiver, and we constantly trying to give to others, where we forget the reason we want to give so much to others is because that part of us that needs our own attention so much, we just haven't learned how to give to ourselves, and we just tend to go outward. Which I'm not saying you should not be going outward to help others or give love or care, but if you're not doing it, remember that your soul is a sacred sanctuary, your heart a profound wisdom keeper, and your journey a divine unfolding.